So rational expressions, this is the term for a polynomial divided by another polynomial. So we've dealt with polynomials before, but this is basically a fraction with a polynomial on the top and a polynomial on the bottom. And for simplifying polynomials, we have to be very careful. And if you look at some of these examples, I have x plus 3 over x plus 5. This cannot simplify. And we kind of talked about this on the previous problem, that if you look at this top here, because of that plus sign, that really groups the x plus 3 for canceling purposes. So it's not an x, and it's not a plus 3, it's an x plus 3. And the only thing that will cancel with an x plus 3 is another x plus 3. And this is an x plus 5. So this cannot be simplified at all. I can't just cancel out the x's. That's not how it works because of the plus sign there. This is really treated as a group. So it's a very, very important thing to remember when doing this. So if they do match up, x plus 3 and x plus 3, you can put the parentheses if you want to, then those would cancel out and reduce to 1. Same for x minus 3. X minus 3, you would cancel those out, and that would reduce to 1. One of the technicalities, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, is that if you have the same two terms, but they're the reverse order, and they're both subtraction, they actually cancel to be a negative 1. This is kind of a more technicality, and we'll look at it on question number 6. So we're not going to really worry about that yet. And then this one, they're not the same, so they can't be simplified. So on these questions, we need to reveal things that can be canceled. And to do that, we have to factor. So I like to try to make the bad example that this is like Bejeweled. If you've ever played the game Bejeweled, it's like where you're, I don't know, shifting around jewels, and when they match up, then they disappear, they cancel out, and you get points. Well, here, this is like that, but not as fun, because you're factoring, and then if you can get factors that match up, they will cancel out. So with number 4, I want to factor, and you'll notice that these two polynomials both have 1 as a coefficient. So you can do the fast factoring if you want to. If you want to do the AC method, you can do that as well. So if I factor both the top and the bottom, for the top I need two numbers that multiply to be negative 5, but add to be negative 4. So again, I can put my x and my x. Those two numbers would be negative 5 and positive 1. And then for the bottom, I need two numbers that multiply to be positive 4 and add to be positive 5. So that would be plus 1 and plus 4. So now that you've factored, we can look for different factors to cancel out. So the top and the bottom both have an x plus 1. So I can cancel out the x plus 1's, and that will leave me with x minus 5 and x plus 4. And that would be my answer. So again, just like Bejeweled, you have to match them up and they cancel out. Again, that's my bad analogy. I just want to talk a little bit more about, so the question is done, but I want to talk a little bit more about why we can't just cancel out the x squareds here at the beginning, because again, we are not allowed to do that. We have to factor this. So the reason why you can't just cancel out the x squareds at the beginning, again, it's really because of the negative signs and positive signs, or the subtraction and the addition signs. So if you had the question like 12 minus 7 over 12 plus 3, if you were given this question, then what you should do is you should take 12 minus 7 to get 5, and 12 plus 3 to get 15. And then you would reduce this to 1 over 3. So you really, according to order of operations, have to do the top first and then do the bottom, and then you can reduce. So you are not allowed to just cancel out these 12s, because that would get you negative 7 over 3, which is a totally different answer from 1 over 3. So you are not allowed to just cancel out those factors. You really have to do the 12 minus 7 first and the 12 plus 3. So that's really the same or similar thing to these subtraction and addition signs. It really groups this together. And the only way that you can cancel things out is if you factor them. So you don't really need to know that, but that's kind of one of the explanations as to why you can't just cross out those x squareds there.